You're listening to Nothing's Off the Table, the podcast where no subject is too taboo to discuss. Now, please welcome your hosts, Andy Barker and Lou Del Pree. What's happening? It's Friday. I'm back.
It's Friday. It's Friday. We missed last week, but that was all right. I mean, it was pretty much. There was only one story dominating.
Well, speaking of stories, what? I hear that you've been listening to the news, so
I have, man.
I
have
to.
So, I have, Andy. So let's get to it. Right, we'll get to our wrap with our I didn't produce any music, but
that's okay.
And the wrap. So anyway, I paid for it, so you don't have to. Tucker Carlson interviewed national security expert Elbridge Colby. Go check it out. First 12 minutes were clutch. They discuss inappropriateness of four-star anything, admirals and generals commenting on public policy, and confirm Rickard's reporting of the war in Ukraine not going how they were originally saying. They even point out New York Times has changed its narrative on that. It's far worse for Ukraine. Russia's been outproducing all NATO nations in shell productions, and even though it is old technology, they do have the heads up on that. And anyway, new reporting and new intel starting to come out, and that story's starting to become more developed. So check that over at Tucker Carlson, the interview with Elbridge Colby. You'll like that. For BJJ fans, Adam Carolla talked in the second hour to Rickson Gracie, the GOAT, on his podcast. If you look at it this week, was talking to my professor who attended a couple of his seminars, said you can catch him once with a new stuff, right? And all that new kind of inversion. Said you could catch him once, man, but once he sees it, that is it. There is nothing that beats the old solid techniques. And as soon as he's seen it, he knows exactly how to put the pressure on it.
Yep.
It's an interesting interview.
Roger Gracie, he sticks to the basics.
Oh, yeah. Charlie Kirk talked about John Thune Wednesday on his show and how he has a very limited amount of time to prove he's on Team Trump and not a McConnell shill. So it's great analysis over there for those guys on the Charlie Kirk show. He helped get Trump's elected with his Turning Point USA. So he's down at Mar-a-Lago right now watching who's coming and going. He's got a lot of good insight, a lot of good solid intel coming out of him down there at Mar-a-Lago on the Charlie Kirk show. But definitely check out his comments on John Thune. Also, lots of talk about Matt Gaetz. So, interesting theory shot out on the War Room, I believe, Steve Bannon. But a fellow congressman said he is not going over there to run the DOJ. He's actually going over there to hit print for the Oversight Committee. And that's why everyone's freaking out. He's about to throw the curtain wide open on the last 4 years, and people are going to be arrested. He said he looked at Gaetz and said, if you do go over there, you're not going to give me that where, we don't comment longstanding, on investigations, we don't comment nonsense, are you? And he said, oh, no.
The stonewalling is over.
I think so. And so, everybody, that is a wrap. Check it out. If you didn't have time to watch it all, hit those highlights.
Well, that's fantastic because I didn't have time to check it out. Well, I did have time, but I just didn't. So, as many of you may or may not know, we've got a guest tonight, and I'm looking forward to this because I've been trying to get him on the show for quite a while. He's a busy dude, but, he's a professional umpire. He likes long walks on the beach. And, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mitch Trzeciak. Hello, Mitch. How are you, buddy?
What up? Oh, fantastic. Long walks on the beach is, I don't know if I've gotten that descriptor before, but I'll take it.
Well, I mean, it's hard to walk on the beach in Michigan unless you're at Lake Michigan, I guess.
Especially right now.
Yeah, it's a little bit chilly.
I was at the beach recently. Oh, a little bit, yeah. It's actually, it's been pretty mild. Everybody says we're going to have a mild winter, so I'll take it.
Interesting. Now, all right, everybody I've ever met from Michigan, this is important baseball talk, right? Where are you?
Oh, right, hang on. Are you using the correct hand? Okay, so you got it. Yeah. Well, so however this gets turned around, if this is the proper orientation, I live right here. There we go. Right there.
Oh, yeah. Never been there.
My ex-wife was a Youper.
A Youper? Oh.
So did she ever use the term troll to describe other people from the state?
Geez.
The bridge that connects the upper
we lived together.
There you go. The bridge that connects the upper and lower peninsula of the Mackinac. Everybody in the UP calls everybody who lives below the bridge a troll. So by Michigan geographical standards, I'm a troll.
But you know what was crazy? I will say this. We're actually we're very cordial. We communicate. It's my God, that was 30 years ago. But anyway, she was actually amazingly good at hockey. I know
Oh,
that sounds
sure.
crazy, but she said that was all they do up there, and it just fascinated me to see a girl amazingly good. And that was, I was young. I was very young at the time, and I was like, man, she is phenomenal. She was phenomenal on ice skates, and her hockey game was phenomenal.
I've always joked that maybe like the next sport, if I ever take up officiating anything else, would be hockey, just because I feel like I have to, being from Michigan.
Right.
But I realize I can't
Hey,
turn.
Steve.
I can't turn right. I can go left with the best of them because that's just the way
Okay.
that you always go in free skate when you're a kid.
Only blue
But
steel.
Right.
turning right's just out of the question. Backwards, fine. Stopping, I'm standard, but going right, I'm done. So I think, unfortunately, if I don't make it to the majors, making it to the NHL is also probably out of the question.
I can skate left, right, front, back. I can't stop. I've never
It's an
learned to
art.
stop.
It's an art. Yeah, I mean, and you certainly can't be reffing and use the boards to stop. I mean, I guess you can. You're probably not going to make it very far.
Yeah, it's not in the cards for me at all.
No, nope. I'm right
Yeah.
there with you. I think.
So speaking of baseball, how did you get involved? I mean, all right, you probably, I'm assuming, played as a kid, but
Hmm.
did you umpire as a kid?
When did I start umpiring?
I asked you first.
I know. So I think I did my first games when I was like 17 years old. We had There were two fields in my hometown, and on those two fields were four different age groups. So back when I was coming up, it was just 10 and under. So you had your 8, 9, and 10-year-olds all playing together, then 12 and under, and then we had two 14 and under teams, and they didn't play any little league or any sort of affiliation like that. They belonged to some league that was, local, I guess, but it was kind of a big deal to get to that junior in high school, senior in high school age and come back and umpire games because I mean this was 2009, 2010, and you were making $25 to work the bases and $35 or $30 to work the plate, and you didn't have any of your own equipment, so you used old shin guards in the shed, and everybody used the same hockey helmet to work games. So it was a big deal to start doing that, and when I did, it was super cool. I was like, this is great. This is the best thing ever. I can work. I don't know. It would be something like Friday 2 games, Saturday 4 or 5 or 6 games, and Sunday 3 or 4 games or something like that. And you'd come out of there with more gas money than I'd ever had before. I remember one time my dad got in my car after I'd just done a tournament and opened up my glove box to the center console. He's like, "What are you doing with all this cash in here?" So, well, umpiring's paying pretty well, and I just haven't had time to go to the bank or anything like that. So that was probably my
I'm
first.
rich, bitch.
Right, I was 17 years old, and I didn't have any bills, and I was trying to go to
Dealing
college,
drugs.
and that's probably what it looked like, to be completely honest.
What do you think?
But
Right?
yeah, so I guess that was when I started umpiring at least, and then I had a pretty big hiatus in my high school or my college years because I went away to play. So I was in college for 5 years, and I was redshirted the first year, and I played the other 4. So I didn't umpire at all in that time. And then it was never really on my radar, full transparency. I think anybody who's close to me kind of knows this about me, that I was pot committed to playing for as long as I could. But then as soon as I was done playing, the plan was to go to medical school. And so I had taken my MCAT twice, once between my junior and senior year, and then once in the late fall of my senior year, my 5th year of college, and got the exact same score both times, and they weren't very good. So when I came home, I thought, okay, gap year and settle into big boy job, and this whole time I'm not umpiring at all. And then I coached for a little bit with my academy that I played for fall and summer baseball when I was in high school, and it was great. I love my academy, and 2, I love the guys who I coached with and who were, coached me before I even got into coaching. I did that for 2 summers, and I couldn't really commit to it as much as I wanted to, but I did in that first spring of being home. So this is spring of 2017. I said, I'm going to try and get as many high school baseball games as I can. I don't know if I'm remotely qualified. I've never been trained, right? All those games that I did, at the little league field, nobody. Some people taught me how to stand behind the catcher, and I watched a bunch of YouTube videos about how to pivot before I did my first games, on the JV baseball field. And then I think I got something like a dozen games. And in Michigan, if you get 12 assigned to you, you're maybe going to work 6 or 8 of them just with snow and bad weather and teams. And the number of schools having a JV baseball team up here are just, you're ebbing and flowing every year. So I think I ended up working maybe a dozen games that year. And I told my uncle at Christmas time that year, December of 2017, and said, I think I'm going to try and get a full season next year. I'm going to try and do nothing but varsity baseball, wire to wire. And my cousin, so his son, had just, well, he was still in at that point. It was 2017, but he had come up through the minors with the Cubs, and he pitched for the Cubs, and then he ended up finishing his career with the Giants. But he pitched it to me. He said, why don't you try and be a professional umpire? There's a bunch of young guys who have umpired for Jeff, and I think a lot of them have played in the past. You're probably pretty good at it. And it was literally December of 2017 that I think I did the first Google search or December 6th, December of 2016 even, to how to become a professional umpire, how to become a major league umpire. And then fast forward, a year and a month later, and I'm driving to Daytona on New Year's Day from my house, like New Year's Eve party, and then told everybody, all right, see you later. I'm going to umpire school. And here we are.
Did you go to Wendelstedt? Is that where you went? Okay.
Yep. 2018.
Now they have job placement too as well, right? Like they help with that.
Yeah. So I went in the years prior to the kind of new model, and I'm getting more familiar with the new model of how guys and girls get into professional baseball now, but it wasn't like that when I went. There were 2 schools, and each school sent, call it however many openings there were. Maybe they sent that many umpires to the advanced course that's gone by a couple different names. A lot of guys who I've worked with called it P-Book because that's what it was called when they went through. So yeah, Harry's sent on, I think there were 28 of us or something like that who went to that advanced course, and then from the next, I don't know, tier of umpires, they had an option to go to another training to get placed in. I think those leagues were the West Coast League, the College Summer League, and the Northwoods League's always been the big one. And I think some of the top umpires ended up working in like the Frontier or the American Association and stuff like that. And I think they still do that now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, back before the model that we have now, that was what I got in under.
I just want you both to know that I'm very proud of myself right now. It took a lot of restraint. You said 28, and I had an incredibly inappropriate joke, and I just let it go.
Hey, all right.
Nice. I'm proud.
Thanks.
That was good restraint.
It was, man. I don't know if you can see the sweat or not, but man, it was brutal.
No, your head usually glistens that much to begin with.
Hurtful. Well, thanks for coming on the show. That's all the time we have for your smart ass.
It's been great.
Lou, it looks like you had a question.
Oh yeah, well, I was gonna ask. So I recently attended the Wounded Warrior Umpire Academy this year, and I know Andy's been doing it for a long time, and so I'm brand new, right? And I had a great summer. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to. I even got a couple of high school games in. That was fun. So I have lots of questions, but 2 that I wanted to ask. One kind of fun one first. What level did you notice a speed change in pitching? Like at what level? Okay, this is coming now. I really got to look.
That's a good. Well, every year's been a lot different. Every year has been a lot different. When did it? Man, I don't know. I'll tell you what. I don't know if I've seen such a huge jump in velocity, but I'll tell you what. Especially now with with the ABS and being on that, 2 nights a week, seeing how aggressive some of the break and the movement on pitches
Yeah.
has been pretty crazy, because there have been certain pitches that I'll go back and I'll get my my printout or my score at the end of the night, and it'll show you the plot and all the misses you had and all the ones you got right too, but the misses show up first. And I remember one pitch specifically that was just a really sharp slider that a catcher set up in for, and the pitcher missed away, and it clipped the bottom of the strike zone. And I called it a ball because I think everybody in the stadium thought it was going to be a ball. I mean, it almost bounced, and the catcher, just dove to keep it from getting to the backstop, and it was a miss. I go back and look at it, and it says that it's some kind of crazy distance in the zone, like 0.03 inches or whatever it is in the zone. I'm like, geez, all right, so they can get away with quite a bit. So I did notice that things move a lot. That first year, though, this is kind of what I was going to get at. That first year after the COVID year that none of the minor league guys really went to work, the AAA guys did a little bit, and everybody found a way to work. But that year, when I came back in 2021, I remember feeling like everything was blowing me up. That was by far, I feel like, my worst performing spring training, the hardest fought season. I was actually just talking to my partner from that year earlier today. We were on the phone while I was on the way home from work, and we were just kind of reminiscing on all of the inside jokes and the one-liners that you have on a crew when you spend every day together. But the one thing I think we would both say is, thank goodness it was the two of us together that year, because coming back from a year off with that season that we had in particular, it was just tough. That was a really tough year. It was really fun, but that one was a lot of work for sure.
Lou kind of stole my thunder a little bit, but I was gonna bring this up later. But since you brought it up, I got to tell you, man, I'm super impressed with you, Mitch. Not from your umpiring, because I mean,
I certainly wouldn't be impressed with that.
Anyway, no, seriously, for as long as I've been coming to the Wounded Warrior Umpire Academy, you've been there, man. And what I'm so impressed with is, you don't have to do it. You're doing it to spread that love and the knowledge, and it's for me, it's greatly appreciated. As much as I give you shit, I actually listen, and I take in all the nuggets, man.
Yeah,
So
I'll tell you
thanks.
what. No, thank you. That's really kind of you to say. And yeah, that was probably the greatest. That might have been the best thing that came out of getting moved to Double A that season, because I didn't start there that year, and I had a terrible attitude about it. And looking back on it, I wish I would have done a lot of things differently. But we're here now, and I got there, and that was cool. And then the crew that I joined was the crew that was supposed to be nearby, and during that time when everybody was coming up to Carlisle, we were a little bit further away. There was another crew that was closer, because I think you guys got to go to that game in 2022. But Kevin, who I was with at the time, he said, our crew chief's gone, but I still think we should go. And I said, absolutely, we're going to go. So we drove over the first time, and we only made it, 2 days that first year.
Mm-hmm.
But those 2 days, his folks were in town, and he's, from Canada. So, like, he's got nothing invested in American service members. But
Hey.
I mean, right on that he kept pushing. And then, thankfully, in 2023, when I got placed on the crew that I did, I was with two of my best friends, and I would love to say that we planned so greatly to be in Harrisburg when Wounded Warrior was going on, but we basically left it up to Chief. He picked the schedule, and we were there. And I mean, that was so huge, because I know that I don't even think Justin came past maybe the first day, and I know Tommy came that first day and maybe another one. But I mean, you guys being so close, and like being from a service family, with every grandfather serving at some capacity, that felt like home. I love doing the job I do, and I think you saw it when I was there, especially on that last day. I just get way more out of the job than just doing it. There's so much more going on around it that brings me so much joy, that I feel like if I just shut in and only umpired and only focused on me, that would be just such a waste of the gift of the job. Because
you'd miss out. Yeah,
you miss out on a ton of stuff. And yeah, that's one of my. I mean, I was so excited, obviously, to get moved from AA to AAA this year, and I was just like, maybe I'll be in Lehigh Valley or something like that when camp rolls around. And I only went to Lehigh Valley for a week, and but there was a drawback. Probably not going to make it over to Carlisle this year. But Z and his crew came, and they love you guys so much, and I know that they give absolutely 100% everything every time they go anywhere. So
There's no doubt, man. Those guys on their days off, every day they're out there. It's the love is felt for sure.
yeah,
100%.
we love. I think I could speak for everybody who's ever going to be in the Eastern League and even probably in the minor league system at all. We love you guys so much because, I mean, we feel like we give up a lot to go on the road for 6 months out of the year, but it's nothing when you get right down to it. And we know that we don't give up nearly as much as you guys have given up to do so many things that none of us want to do. So, if I feel like if there's ever anybody who says, I don't really think I want to go help out at Wounded Warrior, I'm probably going to smack them upside the head and be like, I think you need to go to Wounded Warrior.
As well you should.
Yeah, right. I mean, you guys are the best. Sorry.
Well, I have a quick question for you. Are these other levels, right?
Mhm.
Like we know there's a need, locally, for umpires, and there's always a need locally for umpires. And there's and whoever's listening, they're there's little camps and weekend things that go on. They even have online academies. I mean, you can be helping by next summer, passing the state test and everything. A part of a crew and everything. But anyway, I know they're always looking for local umpires, right? But let's say we have some people out there starting out, right? Some young guys. They're umpiring locally. This summer, I worked with a couple of guys that were in college, 19, 20. And we talked about it, and we both really didn't know. I mean, is the short? I mean, as deep as the shortage is at that lower level, are they looking for people at the college, at the minor league level? I mean, I imagine MLB probably, everybody's banging down that door, but in these other markets, is there a need?
It's a really good question, and I'll admit I'm woefully ignorant at.
Yeah, you can stop there.
Yeah, exactly. Full stop. That's it. All right, train of thought. I am, because of where I live in Michigan, I don't have an opportunity to do any sort of amateur baseball, college or high school anymore, just because it doesn't ever start early enough for me to get anything. I'm sure there's somebody who would say, "Oh, you could get in with such and such association, and they'll send you to such and such place," and they're probably right. They're probably right. And me personally, I know this isn't the question, but me personally, I'm pretty content with the schedule. It's going to fluctuate from year to year, so
Sure.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
All that to say, I know that the college game specifically is really, really tough for young guys to move up in. From everything I've heard, if you haven't been a professional umpire in the minor league system before and then transition out to being in the college game or the high school game, the high school game probably not as rigorous, but the college game seems like it's really hard to kind of make any progress in. So I don't know if that's, I don't know, I couldn't even speak to what that is, if that's just tenure, if that's just exposure, if it's, evaluation like merit based. I don't know. I can say that from a few of the guys who I've talked to, some of the friends who I went to umpire school with who went the college route instead, one friend in particular was telling me just a couple weeks ago the number of big time college games that he's been able to get over the past couple years has decreased year by year, and he's in his early to mid 30s. So I think a lot of that probably fluctuates on compensation and proximity. I think everybody wants to work in the Power Four, the Big Four, or whatever they call them now, the SEC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, and the ACC, and especially those Southeast schools. I mean, there's so many in that Southeast region in both the ACC and the SEC, and from what I understand, they pay pretty well. So they probably don't have the same shortage as smaller conferences like the Mountain West or the West Coast Conference or the Division II GLIAC that's up here by me because it's rough working 4 games a weekend at Grand Valley State in late March. There's just nothing. There's nothing fun about that. There's umpiring, but that's the only fun I think you have there. So I'm sure that there are some levels that are a lot harder to move through, and some that are a lot easier to move through. And I think, unfortunately, some of it just kind of comes down to timing.
Yeah.
If I had to guess,
That
I've
makes
got
sense.
there's a comment in the room that I have to tell you about. I don't know if you can
am I
see it,
supposed to
Mitch.
be able to see the comments?
I don't know if you can see them or
Oh
not.
wait,
That's why I'm
it's
gonna.
this button. Yeah, there's a button. There it is.
Hey, he's a button. Anyway, Steve says that I should work some magic and have you come help teach some of our umpires.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, say when.
Hint.
I'll do whatever I can to get there.
Well, I got a place for you to crash.
Good.
Have
As
you ever
long
had
as
Filipino food?
I'm gonna say maybe.
We're gonna hook it up.
Perfect. I'm
If
in.
you come, we got a place for you to stay, and we'll feed you, and just hopefully the wife doesn't cut you.
One of the guys I worked with this year, his fiance is Filipino, and she cooked for us. But I think she just cooked. I think she just cooked like burgers when we went over there to hang out. So that's not a great That's not a great reflection, I guess.
My wife is Japanese, Mitch, and it's fun watching people go into seizures meeting her for the first time. Like they don't know whether to shake her hand or bow. And they're like,
It's funny that you mentioned this.
they
I
go
feel
into a
like
sneezer.
It's funny that you mentioned that. There have been a handful of different Asian descent players
Oh yeah,
in the minor leagues in my couple of years, and I feel like it's getting more and more prevalent. And I think I subconsciously also bow
yeah.
when they. I'll
I
tell you
see it.
what though, they all. I mean, I don't want to like over category, over generalize, but they're all super polite. All the ones that I can remember, like they're all
Yeah.
super polite when they come up to the plate, and they always. I don't know if any of them ever call me by my name. I don't think anybody's ever said Mitch. I think it's always sir. And they're
Well,
always smiling, dude, and
I'll tell
everybody
you,
seems
they
so happy.
understand far more than they say.
I
They
believe that.
understand
I believe
far
that.
more than they say.
As someone who tends to back pocket his Spanish speaking, I definitely understand that.
Yes, yes.
So I got to ask you, you're all right. It's a two-pronged question.
Oh,
Your least favorite part about umpiring and your favorite part.
those are both good. Those are both really good questions. What's my least favorite part?
I asked you first.
I know. Man, it's hard to have a least favorite part. I mean, there are definitely days that I just don't want to be on the road anymore. By the time the middle of August rolls around, I'm raring to go home. Even though I was just home, those 3-4 days that we get for the All-Star break, those are heaven sent, let me tell you. Those could not come any sooner than they do. It gets tough. It gets tough being gone and being in. For me, not so much being gone, just because I feel like I've kind of been a little bit of a of a drifter for the last 7 years. I sold my
Yeah.
house back in April, and I made the joke to my parents. I was moving all my stuff to either their house or to my storage unit, and they asked me, are you going to live here when you get back? And I said, yeah, probably, but for the meantime, I'm just going to tell everybody I'm homeless. That's a way
Nice.
better story. That's a way
Oh,
better
yeah.
story than telling everybody I moved in with my folks. But no, my folks are great.
Yeah.
It's probably not so much being on the road or being gone or the timetable. It really, there's a certain level of monotony, or you feel like it's Groundhog Day when you wake up in
Yeah.
the hotel room in August, and you kind of forget what city you're in, and you forget. You don't really want to like get up and go to the gym. You're like, I'll stumble over to the bagel place across the street and get my my breakfast sandwich, and then I have my orange juice, and I kind of fill my time until I go to work. That's the worst, and that's probably more of a reflection of how I spend my time than
Well, you
the
start
job
getting to know the
itself.
hotels too on the road. Like you start to know,
Yeah.
like, oh, this one's not going to have breakfast. That one will have
Yeah.
breakfast. This one will let me connect the Wi-Fi. That one's going to allow me
Yep.
to watch, my phone on TV.
Yeah, you
This
go.
hotel sucks.
Yes, the number
You
of
start to know all
guys.
the amenities, and
Yes,
all the
the number
benefits.
of
Like if
guys
I
who are
take this
like,
screw
yes,
out, it'll plug in.
yeah, the number of guys who are like, oh, but they got the, I don't really turn the TV on in the room, but they're like, but they got the Netflix on the TV, so it's like, oh, you don't gotta pull up your laptop to
Yeah,
watch your
yeah.
movies or whatever.
It's
I'm like, yeah, sure. I know that when I go to Nashville, it's like a this past year, it's been a 1 bedroom apartment for us pretty much every time we go in there. And I get pumped about that because I'm like, I'm cooking the food this week. I know what I'm eating
There you
this week.
go.
I'm making it. So I guess the flip of that, big foodie and self-aware coffee snob. That is like by far one of the coolest things about being on the road 6 months. Is you're like, I'm gonna try every ridiculous food spot in town because I'm gonna be here for a week. So I gotta eat 6 lunches. I gotta eat 7 lunches. Like that. I don't want to corner it to the food and the coffee, but if you like travel, I have the best job in the world.
Yeah.
If you can handle being away for 6 months and getting, maybe getting your family for 2 weekends at a time, or your spouse or your significant other for 4 or
You're
5 days.
barking up the wrong tree.
I was
on
gonna
this
say,
one.
don't make me love this even more.
Right. Right. Yeah. Hey, whatever.
Tell me
But
more. Tell me more.
right. Getting on the road.
Alone, no children.
I no kids over here, and that's got to be a whole different level of complexity. It's like so many of my friends have kids and families and are doing really, really well, and it's great
Yeah.
to see that. I like my brain just, I'm like, good for them, because right now someday that's there, but
Well, let me know. I've got 2 that I'll give you.
yeah, okay, cool. That's the best thing about somebody else's kids, right? Is you get to give them back.
Oh no.
Oh, that-
You take them. That's
I'm
it,
taking
buddy.
'em.
I'm
Never mind.
pulling up chalks. I'm leaving. You're never finding me again.
Got it. You won't be in the hotel. Okay, we'll have to find you somewhere else. Maybe looking for another mountain lion.
Gone.
my friend's dad used to joke all the time when they would say, he'd be like, the state will take me. He'd be like, don't tempt me. don't tempt me.
That's
That one
right.
time.
So,
They'll take you for they'll come
I
pick
would
you
go
up.
back and say that. I would say like I don't want to corner like the food and the coffee is the best part of the job. There's so many great parts.
Travel's
of the job.
great. You figure out the airports, you figure out stuff, you learn places to go, you get a lot, and you get a lot of experience. You get to see people around the world. I mean, people behave differently, and you get to see it, you get to experience it, and then when you're back home, it's not so weird. It's not so.
Yeah.
You're not like, wow. You're more like, well, that's different. Okay, yeah, it's probably from San Francisco. Or he's probably from. Well, that's man. That guy's from the Dakotas. I could tell you right now. Just things like that. You see them live. You see people
The
live
Dakota.
their
That's
life.
such a funny we were at a wedding 2-3 weekends ago. One of my Kevin, who I came to Wounded Warrior with for the first time, is from Saskatchewan. He's from Regina, Saskatchewan, and we went up there for his wedding. And there was a guy who.
When was the funeral?
Funeral? Wedding. Did I say funeral?
No. Well, you did inadvertently.
Inadvertently. November. Was that November 2nd? Is that what that was? November 1st or 2nd?
I'll say a prayer for him.
Yeah.
Oh man, and I don't. Yeah. Carrie wasn't in town when we came to camp. No, Carrie's a saint. She deals with Kevin. She's the best. I feel worse for her than I do. I walked out of the chapel and I was like, dude, you tricked her. She can't leave. You tricked her. Good job.
That's what you.
And if anybody knows my relationship with Kevin, like Kevin is, he's one of my greatest friends. He's the best. But the Dakota thing was so funny because one of his buddies who used to be a minor league umpire named Jeff was there, and I don't know if he's from Fargo or he just lives in Fargo now. Completely, that's a different personality. I feel like you gotta have to live in Fargo, North Dakota.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, so I think you answered both questions in one answer.
Okay, cool. That's efficiency.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. I'll give you that.
I say more word when less word do trick.
Well, let's calm down, Kamala. We don't need any word salad here.
Well, let me ask you this. what challenge is a pet peeve of yours? So I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. I've only been doing this for a couple of months, right? And
Mhm.
I hate it when they start arguing with me over balls and strikes. Like
Oh, sure.
at the plate, I'm like, or at, like a play at the bases, I'm like, okay, I mean, that's confusing. There's people, there's different angles. I'm like, okay, but balls and strikes, I'm the only one here, man. You don't have a
Sure.
better angle, so that irritates me. Like I get offended. Like,
And
what argument offends you?
that's totally fair. I get the frustration. I will say this, that I think this was something that umpire school kind of, it took me a couple of years to see it, but umpire school really did prepare, I think, all of us for the kind of arguments that we would get into. Because when you're standing on a field at umpire school and people start arguing with you, the instructors start arguing with you, they they feel kind of silly. You're in the back of your mind. It's stressful if you've never done situation handling before. It's a little stressful because you're getting yelled at and you know it's fake, but you have to treat it like it's real. And the situations that they set up are sometimes a little bit kind of wonky, and you know
Yeah.
that happens at umpire school. But then I feel like when you turn around and you start working in professional baseball, especially when you're a rookie, it feels like a silly argument, but it feels like a silly argument over something that you feel like everybody in the world should have seen. It seems like so cut and dry, and we got into a screaming match about it or something like that. Granted, it's I'm thinking back to rookie ball, and nobody's really getting run left and right in rookie ball. The year that I was in rookie ball, there was one coaching staff that had a habit of getting ejected a lot, but people aren't really just going left and right. You're not throwing people out of games all over the place, but that was one thing that I think that umpire school did prepare me for, was this feels really silly, and then in practice, because you see things when like you said, when you're so close, it feels silly to you that we're even here, and in
Yes.
time you're just like, okay, well, yep, you've got to be out here because this looks controversial, and at some point they'll probably say like, that was a good, maybe if you're like, that was a good call, or sorry I had to come out here. That was probably my favorite ejection from this year, was like a, you know I don't want to be out here, but I gotta be. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I can respect that. those are fun. Yeah,
I
it's been 8 years, and I feel like you see new stuff every year that just kind of makes you chuckle.
This year I had a coach. Actually, it was the semifinals. I always tell them, if you want to come out of the dugout, because I'm new, so I'm refining my speech. So I say, if you want to come out of the dugout and argue, that's fine. I think it's part of the game. I think it shows the kids you care. Just don't get personal. And we can argue calls, and they all agree. And then the coach said, "Would you do it if I asked you to?" And I said, "Absolutely." And then I just walked out. And then right about the
Yeah,
fourth inning, he was like, "Hey man, can you yell at us for not hustling? Threaten to eject us?" And I was like, "Sure."
start clapping the hands.
So I came over and I start yelling, and he comes over and starts yelling, but it's all a part. It's what we're doing, and
Hmm.
it's all ad lib, but the parents don't know. So I
No,
see in the
sure.
background the coaches are scrambling to get the parents to be like, "Relax," because apparently some mothers were coming to come through the fence and eat up old Lou
Optics.
here.
Oh, optics are such a beautiful, beautiful thing, aren't they?
Oh yeah. So but anyway, they were, after the game, the parents were like, "I can't believe you did that. Was so nice of you to do that." And they started hustling, and it was so kind of you. They were like, "But I was coming." One lady told me I was coming.
Nobody's more ready than a high school parent. That's for sure.
That's right. Hey, so Mitch, let me ask you on that same subject there. When you get a coach that comes out at you, are you a guy that are you going to match him level for level, or
No,
could,
there have been guys who I've worked with in the past who have, I don't like, not like directed to do that, but I don't know, that it's not really my personality, I don't think really to begin with.
Yeah.
I'll be the first to admit that I think I'm still trying to figure out my personality as when it pertains to being on the field. I'm
Mhm.
real secure in who I am
Yeah, I
off the
understand.
field. But there's never been a time where one of my supervisors was like, "I wish you would have had, a little bit more energy in this argument or anything like that." No, I don't. That's not trying to put words in anybody's mouths. I can not, the disclaimer of like these are my opinions and not, the
Right.
opinions of Major League or Minor League Baseball.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything to be gained from it. That's just my take. It looks great. I think we've probably all seen the video of Terry Collins just losing his marbles on Hammery and on Tom Halliard, and I like that's great. That's great content. And I never had a chance to meet Tom before he retired and before he stopped working games, but for him to kind of direct the conversation like that, I mean we use the term like that was so big league all the time, just in describing one-off things that happen on the field or off the field, or like a good post-game meal got brought to us, like that's big league. But like I think what Tom Hallion did in that situation was so big league. Like that's why that guy's a big league crew chief, and that's why that guy works the postseason, and that's why that guy has the respect of everybody who he did. Again, I say all of this without knowing him, so I hope that that's who he is, and that gave me every indication that he
Right.
is.
I
But
tell you what,
I don't see it ever like working out in anybody's favor to get into a screaming match. But I will say sometimes it looks pretty sweet.
I have the philosophy that everybody is here for my entertainment. So if I have
Okay.
to argue with a coach or whatnot, uh, I try to be extremely calm and as sarcastic as possible and get him to admit that he's being stupid without him realizing he's admitting he's being stupid. That's just me. I gotta have fun with it.
That's gotta be one of those like verbal judo classes
Oh yeah,
or something
totally,
like that.
totally. Yeah. So I have fun. I had a coach run out at me. I don't remember it's probably balls and strikes. I don't remember what it was. It was a high school game, and he's coming out and he's hot and he's yelling and he's getting up to me. And I said, Albuquerque. And he stopped. He said, what? I said, now that I have your attention, coach, we're not doing this today.
That's so good. Yeah, I feel like in most of my instances, if somebody comes out hot, there's really no bringing them back down unless you can really somehow Albuquerque them into paying attention to you.
Yeah,
Um,
it's so
if
out of
I, yeah,
off
that's
the
out of left
wall.
field. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd stop it in my tracks.
yeah. Well, I'm not smart, but I'm pretty stupid. Anyway,
I am not a smart man.
I'm not a smart man, Gen 8, but I know what baseball is.
That's it.
It's
So
tough. I don't think a lot of these guys hear themselves before they come out. I mean,
now,
I didn't. Oh,
uh-oh.
Oh, the
there we go.
reverb's here. Nice.
I didn't. I had to fix that, but I think some of these people don't hear themselves when they come out. I mean, I had a guy tell me one time. I didn't say anything because I knew it would just escalate. But there was a call, and he was like, "I don't understand how you saw it like that. I mean, you could ask my dad. He's been doing this for 60 years." And I just wanted to look at him and be like, "Did you just tell me a grown man to ask your daddy?" Is what I wanted to say. Like, are you a grown? Dude, I'm not gonna go ask your daddy. Are you serious? I don't. No, I'm not asking your daddy. You're an adult. No, no.
Ask my dad.
Hey, are you his daddy? No. Stay there. Is what I wanted to do, right? But I'm like, no, we'll be fighting, right? We'll be fighting. So I'm just
In
like,
no
okay,
other
it's all
realm
right,
can
man.
you
We'll
say
look at
that.
it. I'll pay better
Right.
attention.
That's a
In,
fact.
in no other realm would anybody ever think to say that. But baseball arguments are they're like we're laughing about it, but they are. I mean, there's sometimes they have to happen. Somebody's got to do something. Somebody's got to get ejected to fire up the clubhouse or
I get it.
whatever.
Who knows?
Whatever.
Yeah. Right.
Whatever. If that's part of your job, part of my job is to have to handle it. So
Right. I just, look, I think it's customer service. They're paying. I'm here. I mean, unless it gets personal, I'll entertain it. You know what I mean? And even if you get a little personal, I mean, I mean, what are we gonna do? I mean, these guys don't know. You know,
Yes.
they don't know, man. I haven't killed anyone since 2011, man. I feel like a god here in the parking lot. I heard it's
Just a
like riding a
caveat,
bike.
like
Are
a
you really
quarter
gonna
of my
come to the
mind that
parking
it's
lot to
never been
argue me?
accessed. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we're gonna go argue this in the parking lot? Are you serious, man?
That's
I mean, I'm gonna.
hilarious.
A parking lot argument. I think I've only had one of those ever. That was the COVID year when I had to go work. 14-year-old,
Jeez.
14-year-old fall ball.
Nice. Let me tell you what, speaking of 14-year-old fall ball, just fall ball in general, I didn't think I would enjoy working that, but I've had a blast
It was
at that
fun.
level.
I
It
feel
was
like that's
fun.
that was all I ever really got to work when I was in college. And even after I started, my first couple of years in the minors, in rookie ball and back when short season A ball was a thing, I always remember just coming home and being like, I'm done working baseball. And my dad would always call. My dad helps run the organization at home. My dad would always call. You think you could come help us out this weekend? We only have one guy and we've got 4 games. And I'm like, yeah, I'll come do it. And it's like, I don't know why I pretend like it was going to be such a drag. Like, I got to work with one of my high school teammates. He still lives in my hometown or nearby, and he always helps him out. And that alone was worth it in my eyes. But then to, be on a field that I played on, when I was a kid, and I had a ton of memories with,
Yeah,
all
it's
all
nostalgia.
my friends. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and for my dad helps run the program with his, best friend who was around when I was coming up, and he was one of my teammates, stepdads, and his name was Blake, and Blake passed away when we were 19 years old.
Ah,
So like to go
easy.
back and like there's just always there's so much nostalgia, and there's a
Yeah,
whole lot of family feels there.
way to bring the mood down, buddy. Thanks.
Anytime. Yeah,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah,
I can.
yeah.
Once you feel like you're here, just bring it right back down.
Thanks.
Right?
So Brandon Lawson from Umpire is in the room,
B-Law,
and he says, "What's up, Mitch?
what up, dog?
What up?
I saw
What up?"
B-Law in Louisville on Father's Day. I think he had just come back from Wounded Warrior.
Mm.
Brought his daughter and everything. It was so cool. Golly, that
Mm.
game was so stinking hot. I wore blue, and I got Brandon hadn't been in town, but Jim from Umpire had come back to do an umps care event with
Mhm.
us in
Oh,
Louisville,
nice.
and he hooked me up with a really sweet blue Wilson mask to wear on Father's Day. So I like switched out all my
Nice.
gear, and the office
Nice.
sent us these blue wristbands, and I come off the field and I'm just like, everything's navy blue. It was powder blue when I walked out there. The only thing powder blue left was the mask. So shout out
Nice.
to the Umpire guys. They're the best.
Absolutely, they
Oh
are.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So when you were in Harrisburg working,
Hmm.
I want to go back to New Ball.
Oh.
Were you able to hear that on the field?
Oh, absolutely.
That's
Absolutely, I was.
awesome.
Can we just talk about how great of a how like the circumstances, the stars align, like, God just going, "Hey, your crew's going to be there and I get to somehow be the one working the plate when you guys all show up." Like that was one of the coolest games I've ever
So
worked.
funny how
And
it
like
works,
still
man.
to this
Funny
day,
how it works.
still to this day. And I remember it was Erie at Harrisburg, and I knew where you guys were sitting and where we walked out, and we walked through the Erie dugout, the visitors dugout, and I'd had a pretty good relationship that year with everybody who was on that Erie team. And when we came out and I saw you guys and you saw us, and I was super pumped, and you guys were super pumped, and I like pointed up to you guys, and the manager comes out to the plate meeting and he goes, "Who are those guys?" And we tell them who you guys, because if they're not there playing that game a year ago, they have no idea,
Right.
and they have no idea why you guys are pumped up to see us.
Right.
Gabe
Right. Right.
from
Right. Yeah. Who comes for
Gabe
the
Alvarez
umpire?
is a great,
Right.
yeah. Gabe's a great dude. He's super super mellow, like great to talk to. Tons of tons of great conversations, off the field when you see him, walking through dugouts and in the tunnel and stuff like that. Really, like, really nice guy, and he was just floored by the fact that you guys were there and who you are, not just as veterans, but also as, using umpiring in sort of your recovery or whatever capacity,
Yeah.
everybody's there learning under. And it was really cool because I could hear you guys screaming new ball all the time. And then, the players are even coming up, and some of the ones who you have a little bit more rapport with are like, you
With
travel
those
with
nut
your
jobs.
like, did you travel with your own fan club now, Mitch? Like, what's going on? Oh, I remember one guy in particular, and you got to keep in mind too. I've seen that club or some of those guys with Erie that year. They're the Tigers organization. I've been in a league with the Tigers every year since I started from 2018 to 2024. I see him every year, and so it was really cool for Andrew to come up, and he gives me a hard time all the time, and in jest. It's never
Sure.
an actual personal insult. But that was just one of them. He's like, "Wow, big crowd for you tonight." I was like, I think I hit him with like, "Bigger than you've ever had."
Oh,
Right.
He was like, "Shut up."
yeah, you better recognize.
Yeah. So
That's strike
no,
one.
that dude, that game was so much fun. Yeah, I loved everything about that. Did we have to throw some? We did have to throw somebody out of that game. I think we threw 2 people out of that game.
Dude, I don't remember what I had for breakfast. You're asking me to
Yeah.
remember?
Yeah.
That's a good point. I think we did have. I think we had 2 that game. Sounds about right.
I wish I could remember. Yeah, it's a lost cause. Well, hey, listen, we've been on for almost an hour. We've got at least one thing we have to do before we get out here, and that's our Veterans Helping Veterans
That's
segment.
right.
This week I'd like to highlight Big Country Veterans, and they're an organization out of Texas that brings veterans in. They allow them. They pay for everything. It's basically a wild boar shoot from helicopters. Pretty awesome stuff. So they bring them in. They provide the food, your lodging, the flight, obviously the helicopter, and the weapon and ammunition. And if you do get something, they provide all the services. So you can either have that brought home with you, donate it to maybe some needy families in the area or whatever the case may be. But incredible organization. One of my best friends, actually, Lou, you know him. I'm just going to go ahead and drop his name. Mike Groman is one of the board members involved with that organization. And
Awesome.
if he's involved, shit's going to be run right.
It's good. It's vetted.
Yep.
100%. It's vetted at the very least.
That's right. So
That's
check them
super
out.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's super. I've wanted to do that for a really long time. I might have to get on top of that.
It's I'm excited. I'll be going in April. So
awesome.
Should be a lot of fun. Yeah. It's
Where
a different kind of hogging than I'm used to, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
Wait,
so
what?
Where are they out of?
Texas. I forget the name of the actual city, but I can look it up and I'll post it in the description below. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. See,
that's right. Click.
That's right.
Comment, click like down below.
That's right. All the algorithm crap that so we can get our 5 listeners to 6.
That's right.
But Mitch,
I can't even get my wife to listen.
Right, well, Connie doesn't listen. Yeah, she's like, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, Jesus Christ, brother, thanks so much for coming on. It's been a blast. We'll get you back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Next time we'll get you back. We'll talk some jiu-jitsu.
Ooh,
oh yeah. That's right. Pre-game for you guys that didn't hear before we came on the air. We were talking with Mitch about a little BJJ here.
That's right.
Our man's a practitioner.
If somebody can teach me how to use my legs to my advantage, that'd be great.
Yeah, I probably couldn't, seeing how I'm classified legally as a midget. But wait, can you say that? I don't know.
I don't
know why they call me that.
I tell them, how does an animal look on its back? Okay, let's get everything engaged.
Right. Lou, any last words, sir?
How does an animal look like on its back? I'll see you guys next week.
All right, with that, we're out.
You're listening to Nothing's Off the Table with Andy and Lou, an Admiral Media production podcast. All information at the time of recording is mostly accurate. Comment below, give 5 stars, all right.